It is great to see everyone. It's 9 o'clock, and in order to maximize all of our time together, I'm going to kick us off. People were wondering about norms for the morning. One thing that we'll ask is that you do keep yourself muted, although there may be opportunities for you to unmute yourself to be responsive to Molly. You know, it's wonderful to see faces. So the extent that we can see your faces, that would be great. And actually, at some point over the course of this next hour, we want to take a picture with everybody. I think in looking at the comments and thinking about this for myself, there was silence at the beginning, and how often do we ever sit in silence? But we do hope that this will be the perfect way to not only begin the end of your week, but start your day today. For those of you who I don't know personally, my name is Helene Paroff, and I'd like to welcome you this morning on behalf of WASA. There are over 200 women from across the state representing all stakeholder groups, educator positions who have signed up, and that has been so gratifying to us. So again, what a better way to start our day together. You know, in reflecting back, we at WASA were heartbroken when we needed to cancel the WASA Women in Leadership Conference. However, we were delighted when Molly Carroll, who was to be with all the women throughout that day, which actually would have been a week from now on Saturday, agreed to spend the time and join us here this morning for this hour that I do believe is going to be a gift for us all. And then toward the end of the hour, Molly will turn it back over to me for just a second to wrap it up, to let you know what other plans we have in mind for Molly to continue to join with us. It does seem like ages ago when we arranged for Molly to spend the day with us at our conference in Chelan. And I was drawn to her because something we oftentimes hear, especially among women, is the need for self-care. And never would I, or any of us for that matter, have imagined that we'd be experiencing the circumstances that we are now. And so I can truly say that never has her work been more important for all of us. And given how you all responded to our invitation, clearly you would agree with us. So Molly is, you can probably see her. Molly is a therapist. She's an author. She's a coach. She's a loving mom of two. She's worked with the Dalai Lama and Brené Brown, and now she can say she's worked with all of us. So Molly, here's to you and the gift that you're giving us of this hour. Thanks for being here. This is a moment before I do truly turn it over to you. If everybody can turn off your mics, or Jamie, if you can unmute everybody, and let's have a rousing good morning. And Molly, thanks for being with us.
Morning.
Morning.
Molly.
Welcome and thank you.
Not really. Thank you. In the inbox either until next week, because every time women come in, we like get a sick feeling in our
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not gonna let her stew on it all weekend.
Okay.
Good. So I'm going to ask people to go back to muting. And Molly, it's yours. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Molly,
Molly's muted.
You need to unmute, Molly.
Good morning. Thank you all. That was so wonderful. I had this thought today, like you all, I've been on a lot of Zoom calls, and this silence is important so we don't hear the vacuum and the dogs and the doorbell and the kids. But I had this idea of all of us gathering and saying good morning together, because I miss being in community and connection with other people, whether it's in a conference or a meeting or in a one-on-one therapy session. And so thank you all for that beautiful, warm welcome. I really, really appreciate it. I also thank you, Helene and Jamie. It's been wonderful to be with you and to meet you all. I'm just so grateful. And so I'm going to start. I'm learning like all of you how to do all these. So I'm going to start. I'm going to share my screen. And can you see it all? Let's see. Play from start. Yes, I think we're there. Are we there, Helene? Is it okay? Yes. So I'm just so grateful to be with you today and to have this opportunity to share with you about what self-care means. And not only that, but to have this day for you, to have this next hour be a gift that you can hopefully take away and not only implement in your life sorry, I'm going to move that back. Yeah, thank you. As moms and as teachers and administrators, as partners and sisters and friends. But I think it's really important that we learn how to take care of ourselves, especially during this time of a lot of different emotions coming up. So we're going to talk about self-care, but we're also going to talk about our fight and flight response in our nervous system and how that affects who we are as people and how it affects our decisions every day, how it affects our interactions every day. All of that is so, so important. So I'm just going to jump in, and Helene did a beautiful job. But I wanted to start, I think laughter is so big, and you maybe have already seen this meme. You know, the neighbor's daughter's senior pictures turned out really nice. I thought that was so funny and so important. You know, we got to keep laughter, you know, pass these memes around, find a way to laugh every single day. I actually started to notice that I wasn't laughing. I'd spend a whole day and not laugh. And so it's really important for self-care and your fight or flight response to stay low, to keep joy and to keep laughter in your life. So I loved this one. I mean, the mask, the gloves, but in the flowers. So keep laughing. Helene did a great introduction, but I did want to share a little bit more about myself. I was a teacher for 8 years. I was an elementary school teacher in Oregon. I live in Bend, Oregon, close to you all. Very lucky. And then I moved over to Spain and I taught internationally and then ended up in San Francisco. And I had an opportunity. I was teaching math and a little girl came in from morning recess and she was emotionally upset. You could just tell something happened at recess, as I'm guessing a lot of people on the call today are either teachers or administrators, superintendents, or have children. And I had this quandary as a teacher. I had this moment where I thought to myself, I could either keep going with the math lesson, it's 1 out of my 25 students, or I could stop and address this child's emotional needs. And I realized, you know, I'm only one person and I don't have all the skills. And so I finished out that year and then I went back to graduate school and got my master's in counseling psychology and developed and started a program called Flourish. It's an after-school development program, and now it's actually an SEL program that I run in school. So if you want more information on Flourish, please let me know. And I ran it for 15 years, addressing the emotional needs of children around self-esteem, confidence building, body image through art, cooking, yoga, and meditation. So I ran Flourish forever, and then I became a therapist, and I'm an author. I've written a couple books, and I'm a mom. I have a 14-year-old son and a 12-year-old daughter, and a loving owner of a corgi. So I always have to burden my dog because I absolutely love my dog. But most importantly, I love connection. I love connecting to people. I love creating connection. I love dropping into the heart and learning how to live in a space of connecting to other people. I think that is one of the key ingredients when we leave this planet that we will want more than anything, is a deep connection, not only to our loved ones and the ones around us, but to ourselves. And what is the key to that? It is self-care. Because the more you take care of yourself, the more you're going to take care of others. So in jumping into self-care, I always love to start with a meditation. Mindfulness, focused attention, call it whatever you want. It doesn't matter. But it's around stopping and getting still and quiet. And even though we had a couple minutes before to begin, I think it's really important to also start. So I'm just going to walk you through a couple minute meditation. I can only see a handful of you, but if you want to just close your eyes, put your feet on the ground, hands on your thighs. Just start by taking a deep breath in and out. Letting go of anything that you came into this call with, any fears or worries, any to-do lists or obligations. This next hour is going to be about letting go. Letting go of control, letting go of fear, of anxieties, and opening the heart into possibility, opening your heart into hope. So just imagine your heart opening. Not only your heart opening, but connecting to all these amazing people on this call. I think there's supposed to be around 200 people on this call, connecting to each other's hearts. Knowing that you're not alone. Every day we're all walking through the same journey. And getting still, almost imagining a glass of water and there's sand in it. Let the sand settle on the bottom and the water get clear. The sand is your mind. The water is your heart and your peacefulness, your clarity. Beautiful. Okay, taking a deep breath in, deep breath out, coming back into the group, gathering together. So beautiful. Okay, so let's begin. We were all born with a very small backpack. It didn't have much into it. We had simple needs to eat, to be changed, to be loved, right? And as we grow, this backpack gets bigger. It grows with our experiences and our stories, our joys and our laughter, but it also gets filled with our traumas and our fears, our anxieties, our hurts. And the backpack can get heavier and heavier through time because probably most of us in our generation, we weren't taught how to let go of this backpack. We were mostly taught to pull up your bootstraps, keep it going, toughen up, strengthen your back. If your backpack gets heavier, strengthen it up. Well, I have learned through data and my research and my experience as a mental health practitioner and teacher for over 25 years and working with family and children, this is a mistake. It is absolutely a lie. We need to clean our backpack. We need to lighten our backpack in order to make room for more things to come in, right? And so we weren't able to do this. We didn't know how to do this. We weren't given the skills and the tools, especially in what your profession is and working with so many children, and especially what we're doing right now. Our backpack is so heavy. We're supposed to be teachers and administrators, full-time employees and partners and moms. And it's really, really heavy right now. So I'm hoping today that I teach you how to lighten your load of your backpack. Give yourself some love and care in how to lighten this backpack. Okay, so we're going to start with an exercise. And this is where I need you to fully come in and commit. And maybe even think to yourself, could this hour actually change my life? Could I do something in this next hour that actually I could use every day in my career and my personal and professional life? And that is what I want you to walk away with. We all do a lot of these calls and conferences, and I've been in a million of them too. And I want to think about what can I actually take away from it. So I ask you these two questions. I want you to write about what is in your backpack. And this could be throughout your life. And you could be as vulnerable as you want. You could talk about a trauma, something that happened to you that was really challenging. You could talk about how I don't feel worthy, or I'm constantly striving to be seen. You could talk about how I'm looking at my body and who I am, and I just beat myself up, especially during this time of all this alone time, alone or with my family, a lot of focus. And then what do you need to take out of it today, getting present, to feel more ease? If you just had one thing today, what would you take out of that backpack? Okay, and I'm going to give you a minute to write about this, and then I'm going to open it up for us all to connect. And I know it's scary. It's scary to share. It's scary to open up, but I have to tell you, we all learn from you. So please don't be shy and be vulnerable. We don't have time for everybody to share, obviously, but I am going to have Helene and Jamie kind of drop in and call in a couple people to share about what's going on for them. So just take a minute to write, and then I'll let Jamie or Helene call in a couple people to share. And when you're ready, you could just raise your hand, or there's actually a hand emoji too that you could use.
Nancy, I see you're in the chat box, so do you want to unmute and share with everybody? Just take a couple of seconds to share, and then I'll call on somebody else.
Just perfectionism. I want things to be done really, really, really well, and it's really unhealthy for me.
Thanks for sharing, Nancy. Sandy Gessner, how about you?
I'm a recovering perfectionist also, Nancy, so I feel you. You know, just those tapes that go through your mind, like, what if I'm not good enough? I'm just certainly not organized enough for this anymore. How do I get better at this? How do I get better at that? So those are mine.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Sandy. Erin,
Helene, I'm going to comment on one thing. This is so helpful because I've been in education. A lot of educators are perfectionists. So you are not alone. And that is a big thing that I hear from educators, that we want to have it be perfect. We want it to be right. We want to be the best. Because you have such a high pressure of success, you're dealing with the next generation of children or next generation of teachers. So it's a lot of pressure. So the exercise we're going to do today is going to be, I hope, really helpful for you for perfectionism. So thank you for sharing that. Sorry, thank you, Helene. Go on, please go ahead.
how about if I do two more? How about Erin Prince?
Yeah, I put more specific strategic planning, because that encompasses a lot of what everybody's saying: the organization, planning ahead, the perfectionism, and how that has just skidded off my plate in trying to strategic plan for a huge organization, when there's really one thing that we should be focusing on, and that's you know, what you're talking about is, you know, Molly, that care for ourselves, care for others, that engagement piece is probably the most important thing right now.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely some common themes. Rachel Dixon, how about if I call on you, and then people continue to add to the chat box, and you'll see some real common threads there.
Hi, everyone. Mine is, although there's plenty, but right now really is trying to fix things that are beyond my control. There's just so many different things going on with the life and school and work, and there's just a lot of it that's not in my control, and being able to let that go.
Molly, would you like to hear from one more?
Yeah, sure. Let's do one more, and then we'll go on. Perfect.
I'm going to ask Katie Kent to share.
Hi, so yeah, just feeling like there's so many things on the plate that I'm not doing anything super well in regards to either work or helping my staff or helping my own family and kids.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the things, before I turn it back to you, Molly, I think everybody should have a reaction button at the bottom. If you've heard something that you've agreed with, either verbally or in the chat box, do a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good.
Me too.
Right? Me too. We have an action and flourish where the kids say, me too, me too. You know, I mean, we are not alone in this. And it's almost, there's actually an article, I believe it was in the New York Times, that said, how are we expected to be a full-time employee, a full-time parent, a full-time chef, a full-time house cleaner, a full-time partner, and then as someone else said in a call I did yesterday, a full-time soccer player, coach now, someone asked, the soccer team asked them to do videos and tape their kid. It is too much. The backpacks are very heavy. So you are not alone in this. And I really want you to just take a moment to put your hand on your heart. And we're going to do a deeper exercise around this, but to give yourself grace and to honor everything you are doing, to focus on everything, just showing up today, just showing up for this call today is so powerful for you. So bravo. So keep that image of the backpack for yourself. And one exercise, I'll tell you one thing right now, I wasn't going to say this, it just came to me, is that ask yourself this question in the morning. It's really important for your mental health to have a ritual every single morning. And I'm pretty strong about this, because if I'm not strong, it doesn't happen. You know we brush our teeth every single day, but we do not take care of our mental health. We actually take better care of our teeth than we take care of our mental health. So you find something every day to do. I don't care if it's 5 minutes or an hour. It does not matter. It's reminding your spirit, your soul, your body, your mind that you are important, okay? And that you need to take something out of your backpack. So even if you just ask yourself that question as you got out of bed, what do I need to take out of my backpack today? I need to take out pressure, perfectionism, doing everything the best way I can, solving everyone's problems. That's not your job. That is not your job right now, okay? So this is a great thing. So just honoring yourself. And especially right now, what's happening is we are having to take so much out of our backpacks because, sorry, I skipped one slide. We are in this fight or flight response. So let's jump into this. A lot of you may already know about what the fight or flight response is, but I'm going to go over it a little bit with you because I think it's really important to remember in regards to your mental health and how much this plays a part in your life every single day. It's what's in our backpacks that actually triggers this fight or flight response. And triggering is things that, it's kind of like imagine yourself walking around all day with thorns. It's the thing that hits you. And it's like kind of, ouch. Ooh, that hurts. I have a reaction to that. Oh, that bothers me. What is it about that? That is about you, something inside of you. And our fight or flight response is being activated every single day. And it wasn't always like this. You know, in times we've heard about this, people gathered in tribes and in ritual, and they didn't have to. They had the fight or flight response as a mechanism to survive. They needed it. It was a process, and what we receive in one day, the information that we receive in one day is equivalent to the information that people in generations in the past received in an entire lifetime. Just take that in for a minute. The amount of information they would receive in generations past in an entire lifetime, we receive in one day. So another mental health thing, as I was going to say, and you've probably read about this, stay away from the news as much as you can. I find one reputable news station, and mine's the New York Times briefing, and I only do the briefing. I don't even go into the story. And I read it, when I feel like it, but I don't do any more. It's not good for your mental health. And it's not about being ignorant, and it's not about being involved. When you want to find out information, find your reputable source and do it, because every time you go in, you're going to go into the fight or flight response. So there's a lot of noise and burden on our bodies. And the fight or flight response is a reaction to what happens and occurs when we feel like we are at threat or in survival. When we're actually under attack in the fight or flight, it's critical to take a look back and to see what's happening in our body, because what's happening is your cortisol is pumping, which is a stress response, in your veins, and it's issuing an emergency warning saying, I'm going to die or I need to protect myself. And so then the rest of the body responds. Your stress in your digestive system and your reproductive system will shut off. And when it's time, when you were facing a tiger, you needed to conserve energy to be able to fight. Your arteries narrow and the blood thickens in your arteries when you're in fight or flight response. And that was because if you had to fight a tiger, you wouldn't bleed as much. But that's not what we're dealing with this day and age. And you'd have these bursts of strength to fight. We've heard this, you know, the story of a mother whose child is underneath a car and she literally can lift the car. That's because she's in a fight or flight response and her body's reacting to it. Now that's all great when we were having to fight tigers and when we were having to go out and hunt and gather. But that is not the situation we're in right now. This is kind of our fight or flight response right now, right? Are we going to run out of hand sanitizer? Are we going to run out of toilet paper? Am I going to be able to get enough black beans? You go to the grocery store, your body is going into a fight or flight response every single time. How do you know? Your palms start to sweat. Your heart starts to beat. You feel a tenseness in your belly. And I wish I could hear from people, and in the sense, if I was with you in a room, I would ask you, but guess how long it takes our body to get out of that fight or flight response? 90 minutes, an hour and a half. So you can imagine all day long, you may not be feeling all the responses of the body of the fight or flight, but then you go back into it. You get an email that's stressful. You don't feel like your kids are doing math well enough. You and your partner get in a disagreement about who's going to go to the grocery store or not. Your body is going into fight or flight. So a lot of us are in it all day long. 90% of visits to doctors, none of people are going to doctors right now, is around stress, sleep insomnia, aching bones, body reactions, somatics. Our backpacks are seeping into our bodies and we are holding all of this fight or flight response all day long. And I think if we're honest with ourselves, and I would ask you to notice even just today, notice when your body goes into it. And what I'm going to teach you today will hopefully get you out of it within 5 minutes, not 90. And start to be like that hunter or gatherer, that it's not a tiger, it's an email. It's not a tiger, it's your child. It's not a tiger, it's your safety. It's gonna be okay. You're gonna be okay. Even if you have a mantra to say to yourself, I'm gonna be okay. This too shall pass. You know, this education system will survive. We will survive. Okay? We are not in these life-threatening moments anymore. Okay. So then we want to go into self-care. We want to realize, why is it so important to even look at fight or flight? And the biggest piece is because we care about ourselves, and we have to. We have to in order to be able to take care of anyone else. Oxford Dictionary defines it as, you know, the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own health. I define it as having tools and resources. My thing just went off, sorry. Tools and resources to support you mentally, physically, and emotionally in order to continue. You know, to be able to connect with others and yourself. My core of everything I do as a therapist, as a mother, as a writer is around connection. It really is. And we have to connect to ourselves before we can connect to anyone else. And how do we connect to ourselves? We take care of ourselves. Now, the problem is why? Why do this? I want to focus on this. And a lot of these you may have already heard of, but I think it's really important you ask yourself, why am I not doing this? Why is it important? 20 minutes a day, you'll have better health, sleep, and income. Right? It combats depression and anxiety, all the research, all the data. And I have to tell you, in my work as a therapist and in mental health in this many years, I'm going to tell you, everyone suffers from this. On some level, we're all on a spectrum, and anxiety and depression are on the same level. And this is so important to think about why everyone says stay in the present moment, stay in the present moment. When you think about the past, you can create depression. There's longing, there's loss. Why isn't it like that? Why did I do that? And when you think about the future, you create anxiety. What's going to happen? How am I going to do it? How are we going to survive? Am I going to succeed? Are we going to have enough money to pay the bills? I get it. But when you stay right here, right now, it's quite impossible to have it, to stay in the present moment. I'm here. I see other people. I'm not alone. You know, I do have a roof over my head, which we're lucky. So, and when you work at self-care, you flourish merely rather than survive. You actually flourish. I love this one. When we take care of ourselves, all the data is saying about reciprocity. The kinder you show yourself, the kinder you show everybody else. The more you take time for yourself to connect and to get clear and to relax or to take a break, you'll be more available for everyone else. You're 3 times less likely to get sick, and you have stronger and healthier relationships. Okay, there's so many, and I'm sure you all know many more other reasons why too. It's so important. Now, we've been told something our entire life, though, kind of like the backpacks, like toughen it up, is that if you take care of yourself, you're actually a coward. You're selfish. You're lazy. There's no time. How dare you? How dare you leave a meeting in the middle of a meeting because you're getting triggered to go take 3 breaths or to go take a walk around? Or how dare you, when your kids are asking for food, you actually take a break and they're yelling at you to go outside and get some fresh air? Well, let me tell you, you sitting in that kitchen and your kids are yelling at you, you're not going to be that great at getting them the food. You go out and get some fresh air, you're going to be so much better, you know? So it's not cowardly. It's actually incredibly courageous. It's not selfish. It's actually incredibly selfless, because it takes a lot of courage to stop and give yourself time. Okay? So I'm going to teach you something called pack. Like, let's make a pack. And I had to show this handshaking because I promise you we will shake hands again. We will hug again. We will touch again, even though there's something. But I want to stop for a minute because I want to hear from you. And just another minute, Helene, to just say, just even hearing this, what's coming up for you around self-care? Do you feel like you're doing a good job at it? Do you feel like you could do better? And it's not even about grading yourself or shame. There's no shame in this call. It's all about vulnerability and connection. So it's like, for me, I'll be honest, I'll be vulnerable. I am the worst at self-care. I am probably the worst. That's why I'm talking about it. I remember doing a call. I'm also a life coach, and I have a coaching program, and I do workshops. You guys can find all this information about me on my website. And I was on a call, and all the women were sharing how they have pajama days. They stay in their pajamas all day. Now that's changed since the coronavirus. But before then, I'd never stayed in my pajamas all day. I'd never given myself that luxury. It's like dragging me through coals to go get a massage. But I know I have to do it. So I am just as the same as all of you. I understand it's really hard. But I want to hear from other people. Maybe someone will say, I'm great about it. I still get stressed, but I'm actually really good. So a few people raise your hands or go in the chat box if you'd want to share. And then Helene, you can unclick with that.
So Amy, can we hear from you? You put something in the chat box, and I think it's really valuable for you to share.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Can.
Okay. Although I do make time for me and I do stuff, I always feel like as a mom, if I do something without my daughter or without my husband and my daughter, then I'm being selfish. It's got to be something that's like ingrained from me. From when my mom was parenting, you know, she, you know, sacrificed and was the martyr. And there's always that feeling in the back of my head that I'm never enough.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure I'm not alone.
You are not alone.
The chat box would indicate you are not alone at that.
You are not alone.
I know, I've been looking at it. Like, I'm just going to chime in.
Yep. I'm going to, there are the comments in the chat box. Kim Fry, I'm hoping that I can put you on the spot because I do know a little bit of what you do as far as a tiny habit goes.
Hi, everyone. This is Kim. One thing that I would just encourage people to think about, because I also really struggle with the ability to do self-care in a very significant way. So I have been using the principles from a book called Tiny Habits to just take on something really super small that I can attach to an existing habit, like brushing my teeth. That is just a little thing that I can do to help in my personal self-care. So I took on the need to well, I have a need to strengthen my core because of back problems. And so I have started the tiny habit of doing a plank attached to brushing my teeth. So I've attached it to that habit. And I started with a tiny habit of 15-second goal. And so the author of that book subscribes to the philosophy that you should reward yourself through encouragement when you remember to do your habit. So you've finished brushing your teeth in my case, and I need to do my plank. I say, good job for remembering, and then I do my plank. And if I do it for at least 15 seconds, I'm like, good job, I did it. Now I've worked myself up. Most days I can do that now for a minute after a couple months. Still, I'm sure many of you can probably hold the plank for a lot longer than that, but that's a growth for me. But it's a tiny habit, something I can do, doesn't take much time out of my day, and I've incorporated it in such a way that I will remember to do it.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And I did a shameless plug for a book that the Mentor Academy and the Early Career Superintendent Academy is reading.
Oh, good.
Can we have time for two? I'm sorry, Molly.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, please.
Maybe two more. So please do continue to look at the chat box. And if I can call on Michelle Price to share.
Sure. Good morning, everybody. Gosh, I think that just like everybody else has talked about, that a constant need to be everything to everybody and be on top of everything and take care of family and kids and grandkids, and the list goes on. I think my one strategy that I use to really try to keep grounded and to be present is to every morning make a list for myself of the things that I feel like I need to get done, and then really to mark next to them, what are those things that I can't control and that I really have to reflect on how I can respond to them versus being able to control them, because sometimes you can't change what's coming, you can only change how you respond to it. And I think that's really helped me to know, wrap my mind around the work that I'm heading into, whether it's with my family or my work, to take care of myself, because sometimes I spend so much time working on the things I can't control and have to work on the inside instead.
Thanks for sharing that. And that certainly came up about the what we have control over or not. I think just a final one, Tracy suggested about that feeling of exhaustion. And Tracy, do you want to just talk about that for a minute? And then I'm going to turn it back over to you, Molly.
Okay, good.
Tracy, you're muted, although it doesn't show that you are.
Can you hear me now? Okay. I feel like every day I'm dealing with so many things simultaneously, as we all are. And I just feel like every day I'm also hearing, take a breath, take time for yourself, take a breath, take time for yourself every day. But that doesn't help me to hear that when I have, 100 things coming at me from all directions and we're in a crisis, and I hear, take a breath. In fact, I'm so sick of the phrase, take a breath. I don't want to hear it ever again. I don't know that I feel equipped to either take a breath or to take care of myself. So just in crisis mode, I don't know that I feel equipped for that. I'm just too busy taking care of everybody else. Mm-hmm. And it almost just grates on me to hear that. So I guess warning, please don't say that to me anymore. I need to have a drinking game. Like anytime somebody says take a breath, I need to take a shot.
Or Nancy suggests chocolate. And Molly, maybe that's a great segue back to you.
I'm so glad you said that, actually. It's really refreshing, because that is, it does help. It does help if you're at a space where you can appreciate it. But if you're not at a space that you can appreciate, I'm glad you spoke that, because I'm sure a lot of people are saying the same thing. I have tons of slides around meds, meditation, exercise, diet, sleep. I have other slides around HALT. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, don't do things. And I get it. And what I'm going to teach you today is in our short amount of time, but it is not take a breath, but it is something that you could do within 5 seconds, and hopefully it'll help you, or a few more than 5 seconds, maybe a minute. And because I do think when you're so overwhelmed and you're kind of like underwater, it's like someone's telling you to be able to see what's above and you can't even get out of the water, right? So my thing for you, and just hearing that, is that I also think it's really important that it's the micromanaging, it's the small pieces. So it's not this big thing. It's like, what's one thing I could do today? One thing, even if it makes me mad or it's annoying or it's frustrating or no one knows what I'm like or no one knows, no one's in my shoes, but that one thing, you know. And maybe it's this one I'm going to teach you. Okay, maybe it's pack. Like we make this pack with each other, and this is what it's about. Okay, so let me jump into it. I'm going to jump into it, Helene, because I'm looking at the time, and I want to make sure that I have enough time. If I don't know if we even have enough time for Q&A, but okay. So this is what it's about, and it is. You're going to have to open yourself a little bit. I'm going to ask you to open yourself up a little bit. Now, some of you, this may not be. You may have already been doing this. Some of you, this may be a little bit of a stretch, and some of you may be in between. But I am going to tell you this. One thing I know as a therapist and as a life coach, I like things that work. I don't want to waste my time with things that don't work, and this works. And I do it many times throughout the day, especially now, and it does work. Okay, so it's around getting present, awareness, and compassion. I'm going to walk you through it, and then we're going to practice it. Okay, the first thing is, I'm going to, my slide isn't clicking, is we need to get present to what you're feeling. So Tracy, I'm going to use you as an example because I think I'm hearing from you, it's frustrating. Maybe the emotion is frustration, annoyance. I don't know, just thumbs up if I'm getting it right. Annoyance, frustration. Okay, so that's her feeling. So you're saying to yourself, annoyance, frustration, I honor you. I actually accept that you're part of who I am. Because I'm guessing this is not the first time you've ever felt frustrated or annoyed. And yet again, I want to use the metaphor of a little child like pulling on your sleeve. Mommy, 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 mom. If you don't address it, it gets louder. They get louder, they pull harder. And that's the same way with your emotions. So again, we were taught, ignore it, move on. It's wrong. It doesn't work. It gets louder. You need to take in those uncomfortable feelings the same way you would the comfortable ones. Oh, we love joy. We love to feel bliss. We love excitement. We love inspiration. We hate fear. We hate anxiety. We hate frustration. Well, the problem is, and Brene teaches this as well, Brene Brown, is that when those things go in a petri dish, they grow. If we do not look at them, they grow like mold or like that little child. So you need to bring in that emotion into the body, to wherever you're feeling it, and say, okay, I honor you. You are here. It's part of who I am. Now, first thing that's going to happen when you do that is it's going to get intensified a little bit. It's not going to be very comfortable. And that's usually where we hop out. We're like, we're done. I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to go grab some food. I'm going to grab a drink. I'm going to get back on my work emails because I don't want this feeling. That's where we're making the mistake. And we go into actually fight or flight. Their clock's on our 90 minutes. You get in an email that's frustrating or annoyed. You start to feel your body react, you know. So we either feed into it with the mind or we numb to avoid. We fight or we flight. Okay. So what I'm asking you to do is to stop and bring it in. And some of you may be hating me right now. Like, I don't want to do that. That is so uncomfortable. And just say, I see you. I feel you. Okay. Then you're going to become into the body. Where is it in the body? Is it in the heart? Is it in the throat? Frustration, annoyance? Is it in the belly? If one more person tells me to breathe, I'm going to knock them out. I'm annoyed. And my chest tightens. Is there a color? It's black. It's a dark green. Does it have a shape? It's like tar. Oh, it's like a punching bag. It's dense. Thank you for letting me use you as an example, Tracy. This is a good one. So it's like, notice it where it's in the body. Okay, that's the awareness. Presence, awareness. Here's our third part. Compassion, grace. Like you would that little child that's pulling on you. Although they're annoying and it's loud, you say, hey, honey, I see you. I'll be with you in a minute. You do that same for your emotions and feelings. This will stop the fight or flight. This will bring you into the parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic nervous system is the triggering, the fight or flight. Parasympathetic nervous system is your homeostasis. When you bring in that compassion to that frustration or that annoyance and you feel it in your gut, and you say, I see you, I understand. Look what you have on your plate. How can anyone do all of this? Let me be here for you. Let me love you. Let me give you grace. Let me tell you, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to show your worthiness. You actually build resiliency. You lessen the emotion and you build resiliency to handle the next crisis, annoyance, fear, anxiety. You can do this as many times a day and it works. It really does, okay? So we are going to practice it. I have to look at the time. Oh, we'll probably go over a little bit if that's okay. Okay, so we're going to practice it. We're going to do the pack. We're going to get present. We're going to become aware of what the emotion is. We're going to invite it. We're going to notice it into the body. We're going to create space for it. It may intensify. And then we're going to bring compassion to it. Okay, I'm thinking most people are in education here, and I love education too. So think about a math concept. You just don't expect kids to learn it. You have to go through steps. You have to welcome it in. It's going to intensify the frustration for a while. I can't understand multiplication. It doesn't work for me. Well, let's look at it on a deeper level. What's frustrating about it for you? And let me help you solve this problem. That's the same thing you're doing to your body. That's the same thing you're doing to your emotions. Instead of pushing them away, telling them to leave, go figure out the math problem by yourself. I'm sorry, you should already know this. You shouldn't have this frustration. It's the same concept with the body and with our psyche and our systems and our emotional capacity for resiliency. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through it again. So I'm going to ask you to just, again, get grounded, close your eyes. And get really present and notice an emotion that's coming up for you right now. An uncomfortable one. You can do it with comfortable ones too, but let's stick with the uncomfortable one. Control, fear, I've heard perfectionism, frustration, annoyance, jealousy. Just notice it. Give it your attention. Now I want you to notice it. Where is it in the body? Is it in our gut, where we hold control? Our hips, where we have fear? Our heart? Do you feel in your heart a tightness? This is where we hold purpose and passion, our heart. Your throat. I'm not speaking. I'm not voicing what I really feel right now. Maybe even your head because you're feeling overwhelmed. Does it have a color, a structure, a denseness? Just notice it without attaching to it and without pushing it away. Just notice it like you would be watching a movie. And now I want you to bring in compassion. That may look like a blanket. That may look like a voice saying, I'm so sorry I've been avoiding you. You've been trying to tell me something and I'm here for you. You don't need to be here anymore. It's going to be okay. You will know what to say to it, like you would say to your child or a student or a colleague that was struggling. You have this voice inside you to soothe, to comfort, and to heal. Use it now. You are enough, just as you are. And notice if it softens. Notice if it gets smaller. Notice if you feel lighter. Okay. Now, if I was working with you, we'd spend a lot more time in this area, and we do it a couple different times. But I would love to hear from you in your experience. How was that for you? I know we only had about 5 minutes to do it, so I'm asking a lot of you to move through this quickly. I'm asking a lot of you today in this short time. But as educators and as people in the mental health and education field, we know we have to get really strong. So I'd love to hear from a couple people around what their experience was with this. And Helene, you can choose either people in the chat or, and this is vulnerable. This is saying, this is the emotion came up. This is what happened in my body. And this is what happened when I let it go. Yeah.
So I'm reading Sarah Wall's comment and want to see if you want to speak to that, Sarah.
Yeah, when you said, where do you feel it in your body? I could feel it more in my lungs and my breathing, and I wondered what that meant.
That's grief. So some sort of loss. We hold grief in our lungs. So, I mean, it could be just loss of what we're going through now. It could be you actually lost someone in the last few months or years and you're a little bit in grief. That's what I'm guessing, Sarah, without knowing you or knowing your story. But lungs is usually grief and loss.
Okay, interesting.
Does that resonate?
Yeah, maybe not loss of people, but yeah, loss of
control,
yeah.
Schedule. Yeah. Were you able to bring it in and breathe through it? Did it breathe? Sorry, there's that word. Were you able to bring it in and pay attention to it? And did it relieve at all? Did it lessen by you giving it a little bit of compassion and grace?
Yes, it did. It did get smaller, which was it was a very interesting sensation.
Right. Yes. Thank you. Thank you so much. Who else would like to share their experience? Kristen Bars wrote it. It's the stomach. So weird. I've never had it before. If she would be willing to share, Kirsten Bar.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Since we've been on break or from closure, I have had an upset stomach off and on when I typically have not. So I'm learning that I need to go on daily walks and be outside. And but yeah, it's interesting. I am interested and curious about myself because I can't seem to. It might be the Oreos, chocolate, and wine. It's not really. I'm sure that doesn't help, but yeah. So I had it in my stomach off and on, just nervous. I think it's just nerves. Unsettling.
Did you hear an emotional word, like actually one or two words that was the emotion behind the nerves?
You mean me just now?
Yeah, you just now.
I think just being responsible for every single decision and not having, we didn't go to Superintendent 101 for doing pandemic closure with fidelity for all of our families and making sure that everything's equitable, right? So I just think the immensity of what we're doing and facing right now in the midst of a pandemic where people are losing their lives. So it's just that ultra responsible feeling.
Yeah, just a small thing. Just a small thing. No, it's, I mean, it's over responsibility. I also hear fear. And when you speak, and I hear like this weight, right? Because gut is our instinct, our control center. That's why so many people have GI issues, right? And so many of our with the lack of control right now and the weight of the responsibility that you're holding. So just going back in there and doing this exercise a few times for sure around, and just letting your inner voice tell you what you need to hear in that moment, even if it's just soothing it for a minute. It's not solving any of the problems or answering any of the emails or doing everything you need to do, but it is calming you in order to be more calm. The one thing we know about anxiety is it's contagious. So the more anxious we are, the more anxious other people are around. And we also know this about calmness. The more calm we are, the more calm everyone else is. I have a really quick story. There's a Zen Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh. He won a Nobel Peace Prize. You may know of him. And there's a beautiful story when he was coming over from Vietnam on the boat with all the refugees. They were attacked by pirates. on that boat, because he was so calm, he calmed the whole boat during the pirate attack. Everyone on the boat was on the pirate attack. And I can tell you a personal story. When I met the Dalai Lama, I went to India, and this is a whole nother story. You can read about it in my second book, Trust Within. But when I met His Holiness, there was thousands of people that would come to his teachings in his temples in India. The moment he entered his property, we couldn't even all see him yet. The whole audience calmed. We all calmed. So calming is contagious, and so is anxiety. And you all probably know this. If you're running and you're spinning like a whirling dervish, everyone else is going to be too. You know, so remember that the more calm you can stay, the more you do this pack exercise, the more calm your colleagues, your employees, your relationships will be. You know, so it's just helpful. So it's because we don't have that much more time. I don't have as much thing. We're at 9:56, Helene. So I'm sorry, but I did want to just take this with you. And I do have a funny last slide. See, there's a lot more I teach about self-care. We don't have as much time, so I apologize. Where we do a whole nother writing exercise. You get an accountability partner. Have someone in your life to be accountable for you. Did you take self-care today? Did you go for a walk? Did you stretch your body? Did you meditate? Did you anything? All those things we know. Have someone be responsible for you to check in with you. You're 90% more likely to do it if you have an accountability partner, if you have someone checking in. And don't have it necessarily be your spouse or your partner, because that doesn't always help. Have it be a friend. Have it be a colleague, okay? And then I love this last one. You know, it's like how to be in the moment, and then the next book is how to be in the moment after that. It's never ending. It's never ending. We don't get to a finish line. You know, the whole saying, it's not a marathon. I mean, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. You're constantly going to be created. I have so many clients right now, like, we've created our whole business and we've worked 20 years and now it's collapsing. A lot of pain, a lot of suffering. And then I hold space for their pain. And then I say, okay, and now what? Did we think we're all going to get out of free jail card in this lifetime? No. It's a journey. We're constantly being tested more than ever right now. But I just thank you all so much for giving me your time and your space, you know, to be with you. And you can find me, Helene maybe can pass on my information as well, but I have a website. You can email me. I love to hear from the people I'm working with. If you want to work with me personally, I do workshops, I do retreats, I do a coaching program. You can reach out to me personally and I'll tell you all about that. But do not think you have to do this alone. This is our time for the backpacks is to get support, is to support each other. So thank you all so much. It was a joy to be with you. And I hope teaching you about fight or flight and noticing where it is your body and helping you have one tool, pack, some other tools I gave you. But in this hour, maybe you will use and it will give you a little bit of more ease from your suffering. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Molly. I don't want everybody to get off quite yet. There have been multiple requests, Molly. If you could quickly go through where, you know, what's when you feel the part of the body, what it indicates.
Okay.
Are you able to go through that
yeah.
pretty quickly?
Yes. Okay. So your heart is going to be your purpose. It's like when your heart starts to feel like, what am I doing right? What am I doing wrong? What isn't resonating with me authentically? What isn't this? What isn't mine? Heart is generally that. Gut is control. We're trying to control something that we don't have control around. We want to, you know, all that. Hips are fear. So when your hips are sore, there's some fear there. There's something going on in that. You know, throat is obviously voice. Sore throat, like you feel like you have a lump in your throat. And it's not just using your voice. When do we need to talk and when do we need to listen? Am I talking too much? Am I saying too much? Do I just need to, excuse me, but shut up and listen? Listen to my children. Listen to my colleagues. Listen to my partners. You know? What were the other ones? Gut's a big one around control. So if you're having gut issues, back, weight, Atlas. I'm carrying the weight on the world. You started having shoulder problems, lower back. Get that Atlas off. I know we have big responsibilities. I have big responsibilities. You have big responsibilities. But if I wake up in the morning, my back is creaking, I think, what do I need to remove? A backpack. You know, your backpack, what's in it that's not serving you today? No, even if you had more than 24 hours to work right now. You know, is that really going to solve every problem? Get focused, you know, and if I had more time, I'd teach about the right and the left brain, but I'll say something really quickly. It's like a scale. You're flooding. If you're too emotional, you're going to be in the right and you're going to be in chaos. If you're too linear, logistical, you're going to have rigidity. You're going to feel like your kids' rooms need to be perfect, that you need to answer every email today. You're flooding on the left. You want to keep a balance, and you can balance it out by doing the opposite side of the brain, okay? That's another thing to help with fight or flight. And we can go more into that different into the river of integration, Dan Siegel's work, which I'm sure a lot of you know, being educators. So he's another one of my teachers. But yes, so I hope that was helpful around the body to recognize. Yeah.
Yeah, that really resonated with a lot of people. So I don't know, Molly, if you can stop your screen to come back to mine. However, what I do want to let everybody know is that we have begun plans for a Women in Leadership Conference. December 6th, that's an evening where we'll gather for just networking and celebration with one another. And Molly has agreed to be with us all day on December 7th. So tons of the concepts Molly's brought to us today, she can continue on that path. And if you want to tap the shoulder of colleagues of yours, friends of yours to join in, I think it will be a joyous, heartwarming learning experience for all of us. So stay tuned for information about that. That will be coming in the not too distant future. Again, I want to thank Molly for giving us this gift this morning and lots of comments. I can see some hand clapping going on. So turn your cameras back on again, turn your microphone off, and just a shout out to Molly for this hour. And let's all take that deep breath, sorry Tracy, before we move on. I think you provided that for us. So thanks again. Thank you.
Thank you for all your
Everybody, stay safe, stay healthy, and I hope to see you all soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing. Thank you. If I didn't say that enough, in the state of Washington, we're so grateful.
You know, Molly, and maybe you and I can talk about the PowerPoint and the hearts of the body, parts of the body in greater detail.
Yes, anything I can do to support you, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm not that far. I'm pretty accessible. So just send me a quick note or an email if you need support for you or your family or your school, whatever you need. I love working with education. It's my favorite. It's the most selfless, beautiful act people can do. And I think we all need support right now. So thank you so much. I appreciate it. It was lovely to work with you today. Thank you, Helene.
So much. Take good care. Talk to you later.
Take you later.
Bye, Helene.
Bye. Have a great day.